Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon were Nintendo's riskiest endeavors, abandoning the traditional 8-gem formula in favor of 8 new unique trials to test both the intelligence and strength of the trainer. Today we'll be discussing the enjoyability of these trials, separating the great ones from the embarrassments. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now that that's out the way, let's begin with our first trial. The first trial the player experiences is the normal type trial of Lima. Being the first trial, it's tasked with the difficult role of being the tutorial for both new and older players. For that reason, I'm going to grade this one a little harsher. Starting off with the pros of the trial, players can find TM31 Brick Break, a super effective move against all the Pokemon within the trial area. The puzzle of the trial was a solid introduction to the new region too. After defeating some grunts that have invaded the trial, the game implements them into the puzzle by using them to block the escape route of the hiding Pokemon, which in my opinion is a really neat quirk. Even though the trial gets so much right, it still isn't perfect. It reuses the Pokemon Eradicate twice. This wouldn't be a problem if it didn't reuse it for the Totem Pokemon boss battle. It totally ruins the tension of the scene. You've already defeated that Pokemon to get to this point, obviously you'll be able to do it again. But all considered, the trial does effectively introduce the player to the new gym alternative, while still being fun and likable. For that reason, I'll put it in B tier. Our next trial is led by Lana, and takes place on a beach, perfectly matching the water type theme. Similar to the first trial, this one also serves as a tutorial, as it introduces the new alternative to the traditional HM Surf in the form of Ride Pokemon, and teaches the player about the game's new fishing mechanics. This is implemented in the trial as players are tasked with fishing all the Wishy-Washy and then defeating them in battle. I personally feel like this is a great way to introduce a new mechanic, as it feels like a natural part of the trial, rather than being forced through a long and drawn out tutorial. Once all the Wishy-Washy are defeated, the fallen Pokemon begin gathering at the bottom of the beach, forming something far bigger. As the player waits in anticipation, an uninvited guest locks his gaze on the school of combining fish. A giant water bug Pokemon jumps out of the water, scattering all the Wishy-Washy and challenging the player to a fight. Honestly, I appreciated this small feature so much. During my first playthrough, it took me by surprise and made the battle a lot harder since I wasn't planning to fight a water and bug type. The only criticism I have for this trial is that fishing up Wishy-Washy and battling them can hardly be considered a puzzle. Other than that, it checks all the boxes for a fun experience, but missed what gives the trial so much of their charm. For that reason, I can't put this any higher than B tier. The player's third major test is the Trial of Fire, led by Kiawe. It takes place on a literal volcano, which couldn't be more epic, perfectly representing fire-type Pokemon. Sadly, that's where the praise ends, because this trial, simply put, is horrible. Let's start off with this trial's puzzle. Players must watch two different dances in succession and essentially spot the difference. Whether you win or lose, you're still thrown into a battle of Marowak. I personally don't really have a problem with the whole Marowak battle gimmick. My only main issue is with the trial spot the difference puzzle. It almost feels like the game is babying the player. The other problem I find with this trial is the Totem Pokemon. Like other trials, it's the same as all the other Pokemon battled in the trial. It's such a small detail that can be fixed by just using any other Pokemon for the final boss of the trial. The funny thing is, Marowak's battle partner, Salazzle, is a new and totally unexplored fire-type Pokemon. They could have easily fixed this issue by just switching their roles. Salazzle had the potential to add a climactic challenge that this trial desperately needed. I genuinely can't find many redeeming qualities with this trial. It really felt like this trial was a step backwards from others. For that reason, I'm going to leave this one in D tier. Which brings us to our final trial of the video, the Grass Trial, led by Mallow. It's located in various parts of the jungle on Akala Island, which I think is the perfect setting. It's made even more lively by the roaming Pokemon that can be appreciated in the background. The puzzle tests the player's skills of observation. As the player looks for ingredients to create Mallow's special soup, they have to take note of any Pokemon that might also be eyeing the ingredients. If the player fails to pick ingredients that aren't reserved for the wild Pokemon, they'll be punished at the end of the puzzle, as the wild Pokemon challenges the player out of spite, right before the Totem Pokemon battle. I feel this is the perfect trial for all players, the result of the challenge most of the trainer's playstyle. The enjoyable puzzle is only complemented by the build-up for the Totem Pokemon battle. Once the soup is created, the aroma attracts the giant Pokemon Lurantis. It draws closer to the player, every step visibly draining the joy from the other trial captains, until the moment of conflict arises and the player is faced with their challenge. The battle itself is almost perfect. Lurantis is a slow but tough grass type that you'll often find one-shotting your Pokemon after shoving off your strongest moves. Though Lurantis itself is great, its partner Pokemon, the fairy-type Comfey, does feel a little out of place for a grass-type Pokemon battle. But since Comfey is still a flower-themed Pokemon, I won't grade it too harshly. All in all, Mallow's trial embodies what an island challenge should be, and helps to flesh out the world of Alola by inviting the previous trial captains. For that reason, I'll put this in S tier. Since there are so many trials to cover, I'll be splitting this video into two parts. If you enjoyed this one and want to see the second part, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.